be a little more chilly than usual out there today, but the high school football season is just heating up. It's playoff time here on Game Time. There's already been some action with postseason Thursday and Friday split, and we're going to recap some of the biggest games from last night, and then with highlights and interviews, and then we'll jump into tonight's battles with our reporters already out in the basin, excited to catch you up on some marquee matchups. There's two 6A representatives still in the basin. Permian played today in El Paso, while Legacy hosted a team from El Paso yesterday. And we're starting with our game of the week, which actually happened yesterday. As you already know, Midland Legacy looked to become by-district champs for the 6th season in a row. The Rebels came into this game with a red-hot offense, balancing both the rushing attack with the passing game for the perfect recipe to win big 46-21, with 32 of those coming in the first half. And four-star QB Marcos Davila lived up to the hype, completing over 80% of his passes for over 380 yards and 4 touchdowns. On the defensive side, LHS held up nicely, only giving up 7 in each of the last 3 frames. Now Legacy will either face Keller or Trady. I can tell you now they're going to face Keller on Saturday at 1. And we're going to hear now from Coach Hartman for the road ahead. So this game obviously happening on a Thursday rather than a Friday. Is it a relief that this game is now over and you can go start preparing for the next one?
Yeah, you know, we wanted to play this one. We felt like we had an advantage, that we thought that we were pretty healthy, and we thought if we could do this and we got anybody small dings, it gives us an extra day to get them treated, you know, Friday and Saturday instead of just Saturday. And then also, if you know, it's going to be the first time, and I need everybody to get out here, okay, because we're going to have a home game with Trinity if they win on Friday at 7, and if it's Keller, then we'll have them Saturday at 1. And if we get to Saturday at 1, that gives you another day to get your kids underneath them. But that's already been decided, so it's going to be here, and we need to be here.
All right, well, you heard Coach. It's Saturday at 1 on the road. Permian traveled to El Paso to face Pebble Hills, looking for a by-district championship of their own. The opening kickoff was pretty indicative of how the rest of this one would end up going. It was all Pebble Hills. Jaleel Boast with the return and located the perfect hole with the only thing stopping him was Bryce Woody in his way. But that's great starting field position for the Spartans, and the team from El Paso would capitalize. It's the quarterback keeper, Gael Ochoa, and then the Spartans continue to march down the field with ease, and it's Ochoa that connects with Marcus Torres, breaking a tackle for the 2-score lead. Early Mojo would answer in the first half with this Justice Lara score, but would not overcome the early deficit, with the comeback falling short 45-28. All right, in private school action, Midland Christian hosted a first round of the playoffs at Mustang Stadium against the impressive 9-1 Grace Community Group. This one has wrapped up, and Jason Freund's been out there for a minute. He had a front row seat to all the action in this TAPS competition. Jason?
Well, that's right. It is playoff time here in the Permian Basin. We had a good one here today between Midland Christian and Grace Community. Unfortunately for Grace Community, the game got out of hand for them very fast as the Midland Christian Mustangs stampeded them with their running game. Quarterback Blake Pruitt beat Grace Community with both his arm and his feet, running all over Grace Community. Let's take a look at those first half highlights, see just what went down. Playoff football across the Permian Basin, and Midland Christian is looking to go back to the championship game, but Grace Community wants to have a playoff run of their own. Ready, set, go. Blake Pruitt takes the handoff, cuts to his left, makes a move, and now he is off to the races. 55 yards for Pruitt en route to the end zone. But who says a quarterback can't throw some shoulder pads? Pruitt takes the ball, bowls a man over, and nets his second touchdown on a 12-yard run. But the other Mustangs want in on the fun. Handoff to Keller Weathers, and he won't stop until he gets a touchdown, dragging Grace Community defenders into the end zone for a 6-yard touchdown. Midland Christian led this ball game 23-0 at halftime. I'm here with Blake Pruitt after Midland Christian's big 37-7 win over Grace Community. Blake, your offense seemed to be working really good throughout the game. What was working for your offense?
Yeah, we were dominating on the run game. Had a great night there and mixed in some passes through some of those deep, caught a few guys open, and let them go to work for us.
Well, you heard that, 23 points in the first half, much of it coming off of the strength of Blake Pruitt. He had 3 rushing touchdowns on the game. Midland Christian will be moving on to the next round of the playoffs. Grace Community did get a touchdown in the final minutes of the game, but by that point, it was far too little, too late, and well, that's it for Grace Community. Midland Christian moving on to the next round, 37 with a 37-7 victory. Back to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Jason. The action only continues with this playoff edition of Game Time. Coming up next, we have the big game from last night. Plus, we have one of our reporters still out there going to witness a complete game over in Stanton. More coming up next.
We're the Midland Christian Mustangs, and you're watching Game Time on News West 9.
Welcome back to Game Time. It's time to flip back the clock and take a look at some of the games that happened on Thursday. For that, obviously, Aaron is here to take us through that journey. He's got it.
All right, Jenna. Yeah, thank you very much. We had so many big games. First round of the playoffs. Very, very exciting day yesterday on a Thursday. Let's start down south in Fort Stockton, which was the neutral site for an absolute thriller between Big Spring and El Paso Riverside. Now, the Steers were not favored in this game as they were the 4 seed, and they fell behind early, forcing a rally to stay alive. And out of the I formation and off of play action, it's quarterback Gavin Padron finding his receiver Keyshawn Woodruff in the end zone to cut it to a 1-score lead. Then with the Steers trailing by 11, it's Padron flipping it out to Zaire Franklin, who runs all the way across the field for the touchdown to make it a 4-point game late in the third quarter. But here is the play of the day to win the game on 4th and 14 at the 19-yard line. Padron drops back to throw, evades a sack in the pocket, spins away, shows you the escapability, rolling to his right. Now he's got to have it. He lobs it up to the end zone, and it is caught by Kavian Ford, and he wins the football game. Padron with the throw of his life, and the Steers win it 38-35. Padron to Ford to send Big Spring to round 2. Whew, got to catch my breath after that one. We had a district champion in action last night as well, as Monahans took on Levelland at a neutral site in Andrews. It was Lobos versus Lobos in this one, and the boys in green and white were looking to win their 8th straight game. Well, Levelland was just 2-8 on the season coming in, and they absolutely gave Monahans a fight in this one. Even after a tough start, Monahans had been winning games with a lethal offense over the past couple of months, led by superstar quarterback Chino Navarrete. But last night's game would be a bit of a different challenge for them. Monahans showed they can win in multiple different ways, whether it's a shootout or a rock fight. They are now by-district champions, and they're moving on to round 2 of the playoffs. They haven't lost since September, and when you can run the ball this time of year, it is always a real asset, and certainly that is the strength of this team. Monahans also has an extra 24 hours on their round 2 opponent, as both of those teams played tonight. 27-15 was your final score as Monahans advances to next week. And coming up after the break, we've got more highlights for you as we check in on Matthew Rosas and the McCamey Badgers going up against the Roscoe Plowboys. Stay tuned for that next.
We're the Lobos from Monahans High School, and you're watching Game Time on News West 9. Let's go, Lobos! Let's go, Green!
Well, if you're keeping track, we missed one of our reporters to check in with, and it's time to take a look at McCamey's first round foe. That's right, it is Tyler Dupnick out in Stanton. Let's go check in with him.
Yeah, Jen, it was kind of a sloppy game in the first half. Both teams turned the ball over a couple of times. Both teams also wanted to run the football in the first half, but one team was better than the other in that regard. Let's go ahead and take a look at those first half highlights. Playoff football on a cold Friday night in West Texas as the McCamey Badgers played host in Buffalo Stadium in Stanton to the Roscoe Plowboys in first round action. We'll start in the first quarter with Matthew Rosas taking it off right tackle, following a blocker in front. Rosas down the sideline, one man to beat, and he makes him slip right past him, tackled into the end zone for the touchdown. Matthew Rosas, 47 yards on the touchdown run to make it 7-0 McCamey early on. Now, on the ensuing kickoff return, Luke Palianos coughs it up, and guess who forced it? It was Rosas. With the forced fumble, the Badgers recover, and they get great field position off the special teams takeaway. Back on offense, it's Rosas finding some space up the middle and into the end zone with ease. 6-yard touchdown run for Rosas, the second of the night. Later on in the first half, another fumble by Lianos, and Rosas right there to recover it. Matthew Rosas making his presence felt all over the field, and why not more number 6, 4-6 on a 14-yard touchdown run to make it 20-0 McCamey at halftime. All right, here with the star of the McCamey Badgers, Matthew Rosas. And Matthew, you guys went tonight 42-6. How did you make it look so easy?
We know. We had a game plan on Monday. We came in strong. We knew they were big up front, and, our linemen set the tone from the very get-go, and defense came out strong, and that's what set the tone from here on out.
Tonight, 42-6. Matthew Rosas was a stud in all three phases of the game. The Badgers were the more physical team as well, as they ran it well, and they also got the stops on defense when they needed to. So, Jenna, McCamey playing a great brand of football in November as they move on to the second round of the playoffs.
Well, thanks so much, Tyler. A lot of Matthew Rosas. Well, yesterday, the Basin's last undefeated team in week put up a dominant statement showing winning 60-0. Let's take a look at some of those touchdowns scored in the dub. All right, let's start with QB Cannon Gibson dropping back and finding his favorite target. Jordan Talley, who stretches for the catch and the TD. On the ground, junior Brian Wilcox takes the handoff and makes some magic happen, slipping through the cracks of the defense and going for a quick run to the end zone, keeping it with the running room with some help from some blocking downfield. Hudson Morgan finds pay dirt in this one. Let's check out one more score through the air. It's Gibson. Again, pressure coming this time and throws well on the run and linking up with his receiver, Ethan Cahill, who does the rest. Over in six-man action, district champs Rankin looks to start what could be a deep playoff run with a contest with Ira. The Red Devils coming into this one 9-1, facing a dangerous 8-2 Bulldog squad. Rankin strikes first with a Roman Joyce on the ground, making his way through defenders with some friendly blocking. Now it's Ira's turn to respond, and they did it in flashy fashion with a little pitch and a toss from Jared Cabrera to Zane Allen, the absolute dart, with the senior making the grab on the sideline, staying in bounds, making a man miss, and going in for 6 with the celebration to boot. It was a back and forth one, as six-man games usually go, and it's Barrett Jackson with the illusion of the tackle and finding the end zone. All right, let's go back to another Joyce touchdown. Why don't we? The junior finds a hole and turns on the Jets, and no one was gonna catch that man from getting his second score of the night. Right before the half, Blake Bunger wants in on the action, and we've got a Blake to Blake connection for 6 with the Red Devils leading 42-30 at half, ends up winning this one 74-42. And we've wrapped up the scores and highlights portion of our show. And you know what that means. It's time to see which plays were the best of the best with top plays.
We're the McCamey Badgers, and you're watching Game Time on News West 9.
Well, we've seen a ton of highlights. Now it's time to decide what teams and players stood out among the rest. That's right, it's top plays. You're going to want to make sure that you're voting on my Twitter page tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. It's at EliteGameJenny. You see it there on the screen. All right, let's go back to last night with the big legacy when Marcos Davila lofts it up to Breck Stevens, and the receiver makes sure he gets those toes in for 6. Here's the play that Big Spring fans are still rewatching with the game on the line. Gavin Padron slips out of the tackles, keeping the play alive before launching a prayer to Kavion Ford for the go-ahead TD. Wink's domination last night didn't just come on the offensive end, it was in all 3 phases of the game. Let's highlight some defense. It's Cannon Gibson. Usually hear that name on offense, but he tracks back, picks the ball off, and only using one hand to do it, and that was only the beginning because the senior turned on the Jets for a massive return. The playoff lights were bright, and that's where the stars come out to shine. Matthew Rosas was all over the field, making men miss with many eye-catching plays. All right, that's all we have for overtime or game time. Check out overtime on our app.